Welcome to my channel. In this video, I'm going to talk about the GameFi Cycle, a guide for game developers to genuinely connect with players. This cycle is designed to help developers create more meaningful connections with their players, and it's something that I'm really passionate about. If you're a game developer, or if you're just interested in the gaming industry, then this video is for you. Today, an increasing number of gamers are playing games with friends. In fact, almost half, 48%, of gamers now prefer to play games with other people rather than alone. And that's because it's more fun to play with others. Playing together brings a new level of enjoyment, strategy and social interaction that can't be found when gaming alone. It also means that there is now a growing opportunity for developers who want to build or adapt their games to include social features and mechanics from the get-go. But how exactly do you connect with players? This blog post will introduce you to the GameFi Cycle, an end-to-end framework for creating a more collaborative relationship between developers and their target audience. What is the GameFi Cycle? The GameFi Cycle is an end-to-end framework for creating a more collaborative relationship between game developers and their target audience. The core of the framework lies in the following three phases: define your audience, identify and understand behavior, and decide on your key hook. By taking you through these phases, the framework aims to guide you to create a fully customized experience that genuinely connects with players. The cycle is built around the idea that player engagement doesn't happen overnight. Instead, it's the result of a cyclical process, a constant loop of trial and error, testing and evolving that takes place over a sustained period of time. This means that you need to remain patient and realize that genuine player engagement takes time, effort and resources. You can't expect engagement to happen overnight, so it's important to break down the process into manageable chunks. For example, when designing your game, you can use the above framework to guide your decisions. What's the point of the GameFi cycle? When building a game for the first time, it's easy to get caught up in the excitement of the development process. You might be so focused on creating the best game you can, with the best graphics, gameplay, story, etc., that you lose sight of the real point of the project and why you're doing this in the first place. You might also rush the process and fail to give enough consideration to the core elements that will ultimately define your game's success. This framework helps you stay grounded and focused on what really matters. It will help you to slow down and break the process into manageable chunks so that you can prioritize the core elements that really matter. It will remind you to ask the right questions and make the right decisions so that you can create a truly engaging experience. Define your audience. The first step of the GameFi cycle is to define your audience. This means that you need to define your player base and create a clear picture of who you're trying to engage. To do this, you can use the following four-step process. Identify your target audience. Think about the people who will play your game and the type of person they are. What do they like to do? What are their interests? What are their struggles and goals? Create a compelling profile. Once you've identified your target audience, it's important to create a compelling profile of this group. What do they look like? What is their personality type? What are their values? How can you personify this group? Identify key experiences and behaviors. Now that you have a clear picture of who you're trying to engage, it's time to identify the key experiences and behaviors that govern this group's decision-making process. What is the player journey like? What are their daily struggles? What kind of experiences do they seek? How can you make your game relevant to their lives and experiences? Create a compelling experience profile. Finally, you need to create a compelling experience profile that ties together all of the above information. How do all these pieces fit together? What is the essential experience that you want to create for your player base? How can you use the information above to create a truly engaging experience? Identify and understand behavior. Once you've defined your audience, you can then go ahead and identify and understand behavior. This means that you need to dive into the psychology of your player base and find out what makes them tick. For example, you can use the following four-step process to go about this. Identify key influencers. Start off by identifying the key influencers within your player base. This is the audience members who have a big say in what your players do and what they buy. By identifying these key players, you can make sure that you engage with them first. Understand decision-making process. Next, you need to understand your players' decision-making process. What are they looking for when deciding whether to engage with your game? What are the triggers that make them want to play your game? Identify key needs. Once you've identified the decision-making process, it's time to identify the key needs that your players are trying to fulfill. This could be anything from an emotional need such as self-expression, to a practical need such as passing time. No matter what, it's important to understand what makes your players tick and what they're trying to achieve. Create a compelling proposition. Finally, you need to create a compelling proposition by linking together the information above. How do all these pieces fit together? What is the essential experience that you want to create for your player base? How can you use the information above to create a truly engaging experience? Decide on your key hook. The next step of the GameFi cycle is to decide on your key hook. Your key hook is the core element of your game that will draw in your players and get them to stay engaged. It's the one thing that you can do to make your game stand out from the crowd. It's the one thing that can make your game truly engaging. To create a key hook, you can use the following 5-step process. Identify the core experience. Start off by identifying the core experience that you want to create for your players. What are you trying to achieve? What is the one thing that you can do to make your game stand out from the crowd? What is the one thing that can make your game truly engaging? Identify the hook mechanism. Next, you need to identify the hook mechanism that drives your core experience and makes it unique. What's the one thing that makes your game special? What's the one thing that helps it achieve its core experience? Identify the hook experience. Once you've identified the hook mechanism, it's time to identify the hook experience that ties together the mechanism with the core experience. How does the mechanism help drive the core experience? What is the one experience that drives the core experience? Create a compelling hook. Finally, you need to create a compelling hook by linking together the information above. How do all these pieces fit together? What is the essential experience that you want to create for your player base? How can you use the information above to create a truly engaging experience? Build the core experience. The final step of the GameFi cycle is to build the core experience. In order to create a truly engaging experience, you need to build a game that offers genuine value and utility to your player base. You need to build a game that genuinely connects with your players by addressing their core needs. To do this, you can use the following 5-step process. Identify the core experience. First, you need to identify the core experience that you want to create for your players. What are you trying to achieve? What is the one thing that you can do to make your game stand out from the crowd? What is the one thing that can make your game truly engaging? Find the core need. Next, you need to find the core need that your core experience is trying to fulfill. What are players looking for when deciding whether to play your game? What are the triggers that make them want to play your game? What are the needs that your game can fulfill? Create the experience. Finally, you need to create the experience that matches the core need. How does the core need link with the core experience? How does this core experience create genuine value for your? If you enjoyed this video, make sure you subscribe to this channel and hit the notification bell to get notified for our next video. See you in the next video.